Or I threw my back out at Target trying on a pair of pants. It's like 2 days on a heating pad.
2 days on a heating pad.
I gotta get those weights back.
Well, I'm so glad y'all are here.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah.
So, tell me the name of your podcast.
Middle-aged Mamas.
Middle-aged Mamas.
Yeah.
So tell me how that started.
It started because you know how there's always a book about going through puberty and, preparing kids for their periods, preparing the boys for everything they're going to expect. Well, there's nothing for middle age. You were just kind of figuring it out and being surprised. Now we're starting to hear more and more things. Everybody wants to talk about perimenopause and menopause. But when we first started, nothing was being told. The gray pubes, the chin hair, the dry vaginas, all of that was not prevalent. So we wanted to get together and talk about it. Called up my sister-in-law and one of my best girlfriends who has amazing stories always. And we got the ball rolling and it's been on ever since.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is such a white space. You're right.
Yeah.
No one talks about that. I love talking about that, but it's obviously not the topic of every episode I have.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just love being able to talk about stuff nobody talks about. Even I felt that way about pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even though they're books, but it still doesn't prepare you at all.
They don't tell you the dirty stuff, like nasty stuff, right?
Because then you would be afraid.
Then you would
do it so many times. Like Nakia's done it. Well, 4 kids, but twice.
I was going to say, who has 2 sets of teenage twins?
That
And
would
what
be
is
me.
wrong with you?
Absolutely.
Was that a decision?
That was a surprise
I would
by
imagine.
Jesus himself because they are 17 months apart. So all of the beginning stages was very chaotic, but now it's fun.
Yeah.
They're all very active. They keep us young. They keep us fit. Now I think I have 4 personal trainers.
And they are 2 are 17 and
No, I have
17 months apart.
Yeah, 17 months apart. 2 are 15, almost 16, and then I have 2 14-year-olds. 3 boys, 1 girl.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Very busy household.
What did you think when you found out you were pregnant with twins the second time? What?
I was in denial. I was acting like I was a teen mom. I hid it.
Right, but let me tell you a story. We were at a pumpkin patch when Abby and Guy, her first set, were babies. And I was telling her, be careful because, when you get pregnant the first time, the second time it's a cinch. That's when she popped up pregnant. And
because it took us, we went through infertility, so it took us 2 years to conceive. And when my OBGYN was like, what are you going to do for birth control? I laughed at her in her face. I was like, what are you talking about? Birth control? It took us 2 years.
Right.
So, we weren't even trying to get pregnant. And then when we found out we were pregnant, we're like, oh, well, it's just one. It's just one. It'll be fine. And lo and behold, the technician was like, there's 2 in there. So...
Oh my gosh. I barely made it through 2.
Oh yeah. And I have 3, but my youngest is your oldest age.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you took us out. We all went out on a play date, another mom friend.
Yeah.
And she told us, and we were like, you're lying. Because, the babies were 1.
You're right.
And we were like, no, you're absolutely lying. Like the 3 of us all had 1-year-olds.
Yeah.
And she was saying that she was pregnant again.
Yeah.
And so I had been talking to my husband about getting what I was called snip snip. And he would always say, will you stop calling it that? I'm like, when are you gonna, you gonna take care of this? And so when the kid got pregnant the second time,
motivation.
He was off to the races.
Snip,
he was
snip.
like, snip, snip.
Right, yeah. We fought the whole pregnancy of who was going to get fixed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not doing it again. I'm not going back and doing it. So my husband was like, okay, I'll go and do it. And, as men, they're not planners. So he didn't even have a ride to go get I'm driving him in our minivan.
Oh, yeah.
Pleading with the parking attendant to let me sit in the car while he goes upstairs and does the snip.
Oh, my gosh.
Reading books in the back with 3-month-olds and 20-month-olds.
Yeah, that's
I just have one.
You just have one? How old is your one?
He is 12. He just turned 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. It's
So
a
you're
tough
about
age.
to get in the teenage.
Yeah.
She's about to get
It's
all the
already
fun.
difficult. Yeah,
All
it's
the
already
fun.
hard.
It is.
Yes. Yeah. And he's the only child. He's a boy. He has a lot of friends. He's very active, but just that preteen stage, just your attitude and all the hormones that come with it. It's a lot.
It is a
It's
lot, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm handling it.
Yes, we all do somehow.
Yeah.
I think female, this is complete speculation on my part, but I think we have some hormone that makes us have memory loss. With some of the some of the difficult parts of being a mom and a wife while being a mom. I think there's got to be something biological that just goes, you're just going to not really remember that quite with the sharp edges it actually had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Moms are one of the most forgiving people in the world. I mean, you have to. I mean, because so much comes your way. Wife, mom, kids, other parts of your family. Yeah, I think we all have to be the most forgiving people.
For sure.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest part about being a parent?
Ooh, I would say middle school age. Like my kids, I have 2 girls and a boy. And so I felt like God just knew what he was doing, because when my oldest was going crazy, like nuts in middle school, by the time she calmed down, it was time for the second one to go crazy, And so it was difficult because they're so much like me. And so I'm upset about things that they're doing that are just like me. But also at the same time, I was going through perimenopause and I didn't even know it. I think it started for me when I was 40. So they would be having their stuff and I was having mine too. And I would say, developmentally, you're right on time. Like everything that you're doing, this is, I would tell my husband, like, no, this is all right on time. This is what they're supposed to be doing. But then I would say to them, like, you going through some stuff, but so am I.
Yeah.
And I'm going to win.
Right?
I'm going to win this fight. But that was a difficult stage.
Yeah.
Just seeing the girls just struggling and not understanding. I would say, like, keep track of your cycle so you can understand that when you're feeling a little off, that you're not crazy. And one of them was like, no, I am crazy. I was like, okay, you can have it.
Maybe a little bit.
Like, yes, just a little bit. But I wanted them to understand and kind of know how to track it so that they didn't think that they were crazy, but it feels like it. And I felt like I was going crazy too. I was at my doctor's office crying like, I'm crazy.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
That
It's an awful feeling.
It's a cruel joke when you're both, your daughter and you are going through those hormonal changes at the same time. It's a little bit of a cruel joke. It's probably why we're supposed to biologically have kids by like 16 years old.
Right.
That you're supposed to biologically. That's when you're the most fertile, because then they're through all their stuff. And then you have time to go through your stuff.
Right.
But I didn't have my kids till I was almost 34 and almost 36. So by the time they're in hormonal, I was in perimenopause too.
Yeah.
And
just a storm.
it's a storm. It takes so much. I was just saying this to someone the other day. It takes so much maturity on your part to wrangle those emotions you logically know are not that they're not real, but they're more extreme than logic really would allow. Right? There's so much maturity to go, I understand that I'm crying and that I don't know why I'm crying and that this is hormonal.
Yeah.
And my high schooler is doing the same thing. So mine goes on the back burner as much as I can. It's really hard. It takes so much self-discipline, right?
You're right.
Were you, either of you, experiencing the same kind of perimenopausal?
Not yet. I think I
menopausal?
might just now be getting into the perimenopause. And the only reason why I think that is because I've had these crazy itchy ears. And I didn't know that was a symptom until...
It is?
Yes, Instagram told
Itchy
me.
ear, like inside your ear?
Inside of your ear. I even went to the doctor and I was like, what is going on with my ears? Is there wax buildup? What is happening? She was like, oh, just put some cortisone cream in there with a Q-tip. Every night I'm like stirring my ear. And then I saw one day that's like a huge sign of perimenopause is the drop in estrogen or something. And so it creates a really crazy sensation of itch inside of your ear. So I think that's the only thing I'm getting. But going back to
hot flashes too.
That's what they say. Sometimes I heat up, but it's not overwhelming where I'm sweating profusely. I just get a little hot. But
I'm
I
still
think
pretty young. I'm not really.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop.
You got some time.
Have a little bit of time.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I'm still having my cycle every month, begrudgingly.
Wife of the Party is sponsored by AquaTrue. I'm always looking for ways to make drinking more water easier, so I don't even have to think about it. That's why you've got to check out AquaTrue. AquaTrue purifiers use a 4-stage reverse osmosis purification process, and their countertop purifiers work with no installation or plumbing. It removes 15 times more contaminants than ordinary pitcher filters. And they have water purifiers to fit every type of home, from installation-free countertop purifiers to high-capacity under-sink options. They even have a Wi-Fi connected purifier and mineral boost options. Its proprietary purification technology is independently tested and certified to NSF standards to remove over 80 of the most harmful contaminants, including chlorine, fluoride, arsenic, PFAS, known as forever chemicals, nitrate, and many more. Best of all, the water tastes fantastic. For me, the key to an AquaTrue is that it's on my countertop, so I walk right by it, I see it, and it reminds me to drink water. AquaTrue comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee and even makes a great gift. Today, my listeners receive 20% off any AquaTrue purifier. Just go to aquatrue.com, that's AQUATRU.com, and enter code WIFE at checkout. That's 20% off any AquaTrue water purifier when you go to aquatrue.com and use code WIFE. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Well, since it's Thanksgiving, I think, and gratitude is one of my big main things. I think the person I'm most grateful for, actually, it's so funny, I had therapy this morning, is my therapist. Her name is Jackie. This month is all about gratitude. And along with the person I just shouted out, there's another person we don't get to thank enough, ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying our best to make sense of everything. And in this crazy world, that isn't easy. Here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself. So, as you know, I've been in therapy a long time. And just this morning, I had therapy, and I was wondering, what's my purpose in therapy? I always kind of take a moment to reevaluate why I'm there, what my goals are. And it was nice to reflect on how the purpose of therapy has changed for me throughout my life. In the beginning, I had some real problems I was trying to solve. And today, I'm just kind of trying to maximize my output, my input, my give, and kind of how I process the world. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/wife today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/wife. I started asking questions probably, let's see, how long have I had my podcast now? When I first started podcasting, I had some friends that were a little bit older than me. Mm-hmm. And I had one friend who had just gone through menopause. And so I did an episode about menopause my first year. I don't even know how many. Halston, how many years have I done this podcast? 6 years?
Yep, 6 years.
Okay, so it was probably the first year. And they had such completely different experiences of menopause that I was like, wait a minute. Like, how do you even prepare? Yeah. How do you, I felt so, not afraid, but like rattled. Mm-hmm. Like, what's coming? Because one lady was like, it was a disaster. And the other lady was like, I didn't even really know it was happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what my mom said.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was happening. So it's difficult when people aren't talking about it, because when it starts to happen, you don't have a point of reference. You don't have anyone to talk to. And so when I thought about that, I started feeling kind of crazy, that I was either wanting to cry at anything my husband said or like curse him out. And my husband's 6'5". Like, I'm not about to get in this big black man's face and like curse him out. I'm just going to talk mess behind his back maybe, but I'm not going to, but I felt just so crazy. And then I started thinking about when I used to think my mom was nuts, you know, and I would ask her, I would go back to her and say, do you think maybe you were going through perimenopause? She was like, oh, I don't know. So she didn't know. Like her mom didn't even talk to her when she started her cycle as a kid. And so for her to start going through perimenopause and then menopause, she was like, oh, just one day I just didn't have a period anymore. But the buildup, like I've been going through perimenopause for 11 years. Like it is
real.
It's so real.
Yeah.
And I don't think my mom's generation even really knew what was happening because I didn't know. I was just crying in my doctor's office like, hey, I checked the box about mood swings. What can we do about that?
Right.
You know, and so, but people weren't talking about it. So I am so happy that they are now because it was scary.
Well, this to me poses a bigger question, right? When I'm thinking about, I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 54. So I'm a Gen Xer, if we want to label our generations, right? I love it. I saw it. So I've been pondering this thought, right? The baby boomers who went through so many revolutions in this country, right? So many huge transformations from as simple as like the divorce rate doubling, you know, from their generation before.
Right.
And my parents or our parents having a higher divorce rate. So our generation being latchkey kids, our generation having to take care of themselves. Just that one issue.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you know, the issue of race, the issue of women's rights, the sexual revolution, so much going on for our parents
Right.
when they were young that I don't think they had a lot of room for like reflecting on what was going on inside. Right. They were trying to get from A to B. Yeah. And hold on, if you're coming with me, let's go from A to B, you know? And I look at our generation, and our generation are far more like, what's going on with me?
Yeah, checking in.
Trying to figure it out.
Yes, what's going on with me? And why am I repeating this pattern? Or why am I feeling these things? I don't think that entire generation and the generation before that, there's a generation that went to World War II. I think there was so much that that generation could not deal with. Right. You know, the massive loss of life and so many people that were experienced freaking Hitler and all that was going on with Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you look at it generationally, our generation is probably the first generation that had the like brain width to even think this way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, we figure
just my brain.
You're right, because we figure things out. We want to know why. We would, you know, come back when the street lights came on. We took care. We went grocery shopping. We knew how to cook a meal. We knew how to do all those things. So you're spot on. We just figure things out. And we also know how to talk to each other, whereas the next generation are starting to lack some of those skills. So that's another thing that we encourage the generation behind us, the millennial moms, to teach their kids kind of the 80s way and let your kids have room to make mistakes. Let your kids fail sometimes. You know, don't cook a meal for them. Let them figure it out. So we also pass down some of the wisdom, because a lot of times that's not happening anymore. They don't want to necessarily hear it because they think they know. So we're bringing that back, the other generation talking to the next generation, kind of like the aunties.
Yes. I have a question though. No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's why mental health is such a big deal now too, because we are the figuring it out age and just trying to get ourselves together and I guess get those generational curses and things off of us and feeling better emotionally to help us physically. So I think that's a good part of our generation as well.
I think it's amazing. I love our generation.
Me too. Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do, not just on my podcast, but in life, is I love to devil's advocate things, because I feel like I learn more if I try to be my own brain's opposing thought. Does that make sense? Yes. Instead of just saying, well, my thought is this and that is it. Yeah. My thought is this, and what's the opposite of that? So I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I don't know if you can tell, but I've been thinking about what is the detriment to this generation below us, our kids, or younger than us, below is the wrong word, of being this self-aware. Is it that now they see the problems of being an adult and they're afraid to be an adult? Like, I've always, since the Me Too movement, I was like, my kids were in middle school when Me Too was going on. And my kids, whether or not this is consequential, I asked the question, how did that affect dating for them?
Oh, yeah.
Neither one of them dated in high school. Everybody went to prom as a group. There was no way they were going to go anywhere with a boy or a girl by themselves. No way.
Wow.
And so to me, there was a lot of positive with me too.
Yeah, it went a little too far.
What's the negative? So if there's a lot of positive with all this mental health awareness in our age group, what's the negative? You know, the negative to me might be that kids are quick to lean on, well, I have ADHD.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Not that that's not a real thing. It's
Right.
completely real.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we didn't know what that was.
Right.
And we still had to turn our homework
Yeah,
in.
you're
Still
right.
function.
No, you're
Still
100% right.
function.
I tell my kids all the time that that's a feeling. You know,
Right.
you're supposed to feel anxious or nervous. You're just feeling nervous. You have a test tomorrow. You got to do something new. You're nervous. You don't necessarily have anxiety, but you're nervous. And that's a feeling that everyone deals with. And talking to them about when you feel nervous, you know, oh, today I have to go do something new. I'm a little nervous about it. So giving them the room to have those feelings without labeling it, because they're so quick to put a label on things these days that everybody's running around, you know, needing to have an issue.
Well, I think we did that.
Yeah.
I think that's a negative piece of us going, how do we figure this out? Because you're right, as latchkey kids, we had to figure everything out.
Yeah.
So then you got to label or you got to schedule or you got to, you know, that executive function, or you didn't get stuff handled. You know, if you were out in the street with your friends and there was a fight, you figured it out. Parents didn't come break up anything.
You didn't pull out your phone.
Somebody
and
had to
record.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Or call
And-
mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a different perspective. I have a therapist background. I have a master's in counseling. I think a part of me pursuing that is because the way I was raised, because I was wanting those answers. And so I definitely feel like labels are important because a lot of kids have some real stuff going on.
Totally.
And so to be able to give a voice to those students, I work in the schools, I've worked in clinics. And so there are kids that really are struggling. And I think what happened with our generation, what our parents would say is, oh, you're crying, let me give you something to cry about.
Yeah,
I heard that.
Oh,
because I said so.
Absolutely. Or you're just bad, or you're just naughty, or you just want attention. But what's wrong with just wanting attention?
Nothing.
You know, I remember when I had my first child, older family members would come over and they would say, don't pick up that baby. She's going to be spoiled. Really?
that.
Yeah.
babies need love.
So all of those things, like, it's okay to give affection. It's okay to hug. It's okay if they're needing attention, give it to them.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think what happens is you have this generation now whose parents are more informed, whose parents are able to advocate for them. I think about when I'm in school as both a parent or as an educator, as parents come in, they are so informed. They are advocating for their children. And it's not because it's not the parents that are coming in saying, oh, I want my kid to have a leg up on someone else. It's because they're living with their child. They understand this child needs some additional support. This child needs some additional resources. And so I think it's really important. Do people take advantage of it? Absolutely.
Sure.
But if your child is needing that and wanting some attention, I think it's important to take time to figure out what's really going on because there may be some underlying issues there. And so I think about it is something that the downside is the exposure that the kids have as far as the internet. Like everybody's an internet doctor.
Right. And
you know, everybody goes to YouTube University. And
I
so
found out my itchy ears.
yes, absolutely. And so I feel like, yes, it's wonderful because children as well as adults need support, but you can take advantage of it in some circumstances, but not all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it's finding that happy
Not
medium.
to find the balance.
I agree. I love the discussion that comes from taking, because I believe we're doing a great job as a generation.
Absolutely.
But I just love that discussion of like, what's the bad part of it?
Right.
Like, we all rah the good.
Because now we've slid into this gentle parenting.
Yes.
And we talked not too long ago on our podcast about, what is the downside of that? How far do we go with it? Because you do need to be gentle, but you also need to correct. And not every child you can handle with such soft gloves.
Sometimes it is a hard decision, isn't it? It's Bert, my husband, is a because I said so dad.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Right.
So at least we had a little bit of both in the house. So sometimes it would be just because I said so. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
I go, well, it works that way because our family culture is blah, blah, blah. And then Bert's like, no, it just should be
It is what
because I said so. And I'm like, but then they're not going to do it unless they understand it.
Right.
If they understand it, then at least maybe they'll understand it. Because I need a label too. I've been in therapy for years. I'm a huge advocate.
Yeah.
I need a label. When I put a label on something, I can change the world. But until I get that label,
Absolutely.
I'm a little
What
lost.
is it?
Absolutely.
So it's interesting how when you look at those generations and how what was going on in the world shaped us. And I'm really curious about our kids' age because, we all watched one of 3 TV shows every week.
Yeah,
So
now
you
they
had
don't
something
watch
to talk
any
about.
TV.
Right.
When you went to school, you were talking about the Dukes of Hazzard
Oh, yes.
or Dynasty.
Yes, Dallas.
Or Dallas, or Archie Bunker,
Cosby
or the
Show.
Jeffersons,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you were all talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And
true.
now they don't. I don't know what they talk about. I guess they all talk about the same TikTok,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
Right.
Or
It's what's
something on
trending.
YouTube, yeah, and Darman, something on YouTube. It's
What is
very.
it?
It's called Darman. He's a very. It's an emotional kind of like show on YouTube that kind of just draws this emotion, like emotional situations out of you.
Oh.
It's is
it a
intense.
cartoon or is it
no?
an
It's
actual
real
person?
people, and they're acting out these different scenarios. But it's just like really intense. It's almost like a mini soap opera.
wow,
Yeah. It's very
So that's their
intense.
dynasty.
Yeah.
Yes, right?
That's theirs. Yeah. It's
That's
very
so
intense.
interesting.
Yeah.
I think what happened with us is that inherently made us communal, right? Because we had everybody went to movie theater.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it was all public. Like a lot of these
Right.
things happened in a mass
Yeah.
way, and we don't really. I don't know that we have anything like that
Right.
anymore. An election.
Mm-hmm.
And an election has become so kind of like entertainment focused in some ways where I'm
Yeah.
like, this is
I just can't wait for it to be done.
where
we
I
can
just
move
want to
on.
do my civic duty.
Right.
Some of it is
Simple.
very funny. Some of it is very funny. And I love like SNL. Well, their take on it is hilarious.
Yes.
And it's able to show something in a light that calms us all down, I think, because it's pretty scary. Like,
Yeah.
you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But to be able to laugh about it,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I
Me
think
too.
bringing
I
humor
love
to
that.
everything is important. And that's what we do a lot on our podcast. We talk, we make fun of ourselves, things that we discover and, share it and crack each other up. So
There's a lot
You
to
have
laugh
to
about in menopause, isn't there?
Oh,
not
yeah.
just
And
that,
getting
but in
older.
marriage and
Yeah.
cooking and
Yes.
forgetting to pick up your kid, all kind of things.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part about being married?
Well, I'm not married anymore. I'm divorced, so I'm good.
So nothing for you. You're good. What was the hardest part when you were married?
Oh, the hardest part of being
It was
married.
like moons ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago, but the hardest part about being married was really for me becoming one and trying to just be on one accord. It was difficult for us, and we could not make it.
Right.
Obviously, we are divorced, but I think becoming one is very important. You have to really know what you're in it for, and where you're going, and making sure you're going together.
Yeah.
So that was not my that was not my path. Yeah.
I think just meeting the needs of my husband consistently. Because, when I've married 19 years now, we have a busy household. He's an excellent father, very in it for kids, but sometimes you can be worker bees. So just constantly reminding yourself, what can I do to make his day better? What can I do to show him that I appreciate him? I don't want to be a naggy, bitchy wife. That is like the worst. So just constantly being pleasant and working together to build our family, because one day the kids are very soon, they'll be off to college and we'll be staring at each other. So we have to like each other and love each other, and we're in it.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's your biggest challenge being married?
You know what? I have a wonderful marriage.
Don's the princess.
No, I just have, we talk a lot on the show about choose wisely, treat kindly.
Big Dr. Laura fan.
Wait a minute. Say that one more time.
Choose wisely, treat kindly.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's from Dr. Laura. I stole that from her.
Yeah. And so I feel like I chose very wisely. I treat him kindly. And he's the same for me. We're both, I think what it is that we're both very sensitive. We get our feelings hurt easily, and we try not to hurt each other. And we're very intentional about it. I think what's more difficult is the parenting piece. Like my husband will always say to me, if you're going somewhere, I'm going too. But these kids, we can leave the kids.
Yeah.
And so I think that's our pact. Like, no matter what, we're going to be together. And the challenges have been more around parenting and just being on the same page. And I told him early on, because we dated for 7 years. We've been together for 30 years.
Wow.
And we dated for 5 years. We were engaged for 2 years. And one thing I told him was that when we have become parents, that we always have to show that we are a united front.
Yeah. Which can be tricky sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Do not give the kids the power to manipulate us. And I was speaking from experience, because I manipulated the hell out of my parents. and they allowed me to do so because they weren't strong in their marriage. And I was a daddy's girl. And I was the only girl for 11 years. I had 3 brothers. And so I was the princess.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, like, my mom couldn't do anything to me without, she would spank me at 8:00 in the morning. I would still be crying at 5 when my dad got there. Like, your wife. And then it would cause a fight.
Right.
And so I remembered that. I was so dramatic as a kid. And I told my husband, don't you ever undermine me or just give kids the room to manipulate us. And if you have a problem with me, talk to me about it after. And that is something that we've stayed to, and it's so important because we're strong. Like, once the kids are gone, we're going to be having fun. I'm going to be cooking naked in the kitchen,
She's ready.
Maybe an apron, if the grits are popping.
What sugar or salt, Dawn?
Cheesy grits.
We're sugar in our grits family.
No,
She's
you
a
might
salt.
as well eat cream of wheat. Oh my goodness.
I grew up sugar grit family too.
Yeah, sugar. My kids don't even know about this.
And you're a Southern girl. They do.
Yeah.
You do the sugar?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You know
Good.
what else sugar is in our collard greens? You all had
Ooh,
sweet
wow.
collard greens?
I put sugar in it too because it takes the sting out. It
bitter
takes
out,
the
yeah.
Yes.
And
So
you add vinegar too?
I put a little vinegar and a little sugar.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
No, my granny made collards with
Oh yeah.
with no meat in them.
Right.
She never put
Right.
meat in them. She put a lot of sugar.
Oh,
Really?
okay.
Yep.
No. I don't put a lot of.
You're meat and collard greens, savory.
My mother-in-law
No.
can throw down some collard greens.
Yeah, I bet. Well, I
Yeah.
prefer actually the savory ones, but I grew up with sweet ones. That's what.
Oh, it's totally sweet.
It's totally
like,
sweet.
Like a yam.
100%. Yes.
Oh wow.
Now,
Oh.
are you pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie?
Oh, sweet potato.
Okay.
No, not pumpkin. I don't think I ever had pumpkin pie until I was old.
Wow.
Yeah, no, we
ever
had sweet
had
potato
it.
pie.
You hear that,
Yes.
Christina? Pumpkin.
I'm from Georgia.
Expand the pumpkin.
Where in the South? Are you from the South?
I am. I was born in Miami.
Oh, okay.
But I lived in Georgia as well. I lived in Atlanta for a while.
Yeah.
But I was raised in LA. So I'm an LA girl, but I still cook very Southern.
Right.
And so do my parents. My mom didn't know how to cook at all
No?
when she was married. I think she said she would burn eggs, like boiled eggs, like she would burn
Oh
them.
my gosh.
So my dad taught her how to cook, and now she's an amazing cook. But she taught me how to cook, and I cook very well, and that's part of my love language. But I hated it when I was a kid. Like I was forced to cook, and I would burn the hell out of everything because I was like, you're not gonna make me cook. I would burn.
On purpose.
I would. Yeah. I mean, I probably had ADHD as well. So I was doing like a million other things, and I would forget. But I would burn the stuff, and then I would hide the burnt pot in the cabinet, like way in the back. And once I burned some oatmeal, and I took the burnt ball of oatmeal and I threw it behind the stove. I don't even know how I got it back there. And my mom saw it and thought it was like a rodent, and she jumped up on the counter and called my dad like on the landline. He had to come home, and that was probably why I would get in trouble.
That was Naughty Don.
Yeah, we get a lot of Naughty Don stories.
Naughty Don.
That's
Naughty
probably
Don is the
why
best.
I would get in trouble with my mom, and she would be like, "You see, this is why." And I was like,
now she wears her pearls and she clutches her
Yes,
pearls, but she has a very naughty past.
and I wonder why and how my children are that way. And I said that once to my dad. He was like, "Oh, you don't know? You don't remember? Whose children? Whose naughty children are these?
She clutches her pearls.
She
I
does.
love
Whose
it.
children are
Say it.
these?"
That's so funny.
Yes. I allow them the space to be naughty.
Yeah.
So you just have one child,
Just my one.
One son.
Yes,
and then you have four,
Four.
and you have three.
Ooh, yes.
So I'm leaving you out of this question, not on purpose, but we have two. How has your experience parenting the different personalities been?
Oh, very fun. I love that they're so different because I have identical twin boys, but they're different. I have a party animal from the beginning. He was just funny at 1.5, 2 years old. And I would say, Grant, why are you so funny? He was like, oh, God sent me to make you laugh. He would tell me that.
Aww.
He's just full of joy.
adorable.
He put in my phone, Grant, favorite child. On my phone.
That's so funny. Mine has Georgia, the favorite daughter. That's what she put in my phone. How
Yeah, so
funny.
very confident, very funny. Then I have Christian, who's the sweetest child of them all, but also has a great temper. He's a lot like my husband. So I think that's very fun watching the same traits between the two of them. Then my daughter, the only girl, she's very girly, very strong, she's just incredible. She's a fun child to be around. Then I have my brainiac, who's straight A's.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Overachiever.
Overachiever. Anything he puts his mind to, he's going to do. And so it's fun to parent them all.
But any
differently.
challenges with those 4 different personality types? Because I had some. I mean, obviously, I love both my girls equally, but I had different challenges with each child because Georgia is just like her dad, and Isla is just like her mom. Everyone listening thinks it's the opposite, but actually, it's the internal wiring, right?
Yes.
That they're the same. As so, Bert and I are best friends.
Right.
Georgia and I are easy peasy. Isla and I are like 2 bulls, just banging heads. 2 rams, just like going at it. And then Bert and Isla, best friends.
Yeah.
And so there's challenges inherent. And how could there not be?
Right.
Isla's got some learning disabilities. Georgia's a straight A student. I can't have same rules.
Yeah,
for
you're
same
right. I think
two
the
kids.
child that is like you the most, I do have one that is similar to me. And I see things in him where I'm like, oh, he's a little sneaky. You know, he won't take no for an answer. I'm very much like that. It's hard to turn me down. So I tried to, my husband will laugh and he's like, you're basically arguing with yourself because we'll get into it and neither one of us will win because neither one of us will back down.
I was saying, Bert said, Isla and I are like 2 dogs barking in a mirror.
Yeah, it's very true.
Oh, that's
Very
good.
true. And then I have 2 young ones that are very alpha. And so they physically have fought. And I'm like, what are you doing? They will be in a punch, drag out fight. And then 5 seconds later outside playing basketball. And my husband's like, oh, just let them. They're fine. And I'm like, they're punching each other in the face. So that's challenging because I have never seen males go at it like that. But they are fine.
But it's normal.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I think it is normal.
Yeah.
That
It is.
they
For
fight, they
siblings,
wrestle,
yeah.
It is.
they grapple.
Yeah.
They,
But it's only
Well,
those
that's
two.
all.
The other one, never.
Is that the
two-
Brainiac is a never?
Yeah, he will. Yeah, he's not letting anybody punch him in the face. But the other two will be in a loud, rumbling fight.
This show is sponsored by Shopify. When you think about companies with healthy sales like Chubby's or Gymshark or Magic Spoon or Skims, sure, you think about a great product, an attractive brand, and marketing that lifts a heavy load. But an often overlooked secret actually is the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not so secret with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. We love Shopify here because I'm not super savvy on a computer, but Shopify makes looking at the back of my house at the numbers of sales super user-friendly and easy. I love Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Birdie Boy Productions uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/wife, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/wife to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/wife. Do you have any challenges like that?
I have so many challenges.
You do?
Yes, because with the three, they have three completely different personalities. And my girl's the same. I have one that's an overachiever, perfectionist, and I have another one who is cool and calm and but also with
You hungry?
do you need a bite?
Could be the stomach is just
We
growling
need to
incessantly over
feed
here.
you.
Are you on your
That
raw diet
is
again? What's going on?
Hilarious.
It's okay. We can get you a snack if you need one. Just let me know. We're cooking.
We'll go down to the cooking show.
Right? Hop on the cooking show. Something's burning.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I hope the mic
There's a
picked that
tissue
up.
over there if you
That's
need one.
I hope the
hilarious.
mic picked that up.
But yes, and I've shared before about challenges that I have with my girls. It's my middle child.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, when you talked about sometimes we forget, as moms, she was the sweetest baby. She was so sweet, beautiful, fat, like easy to please until we brought the next baby home. And she was about 2.5. And she was just nuts, Like I can find a more, like a more mature way to describe her. But it was just craziness. Like she would have these awful tantrums. And she was the one that tricked us into having a third because she was so easy as a baby. And I mean, we're certainly happy. We got our son and he's great. But I totally believe in like sibling positions and like their personalities. And she's your stereotypical middle child. And so because my girls' personalities were so different, what was more of a struggle than my relationship with them was their relationship with each other. And that was hard, to see. They wouldn't have drag out fights. Maybe if we let them, they would, but it was difficult because I would see that the younger daughter was hurting because her sister would say some really mean things, but she was reacting to whatever was going on with her. It was like one would have this beautiful, neat, clean room, and the other one would just be like stuff just everywhere. And that would trigger her. And so they would just go at it. And so that would also play itself out in their interactions with us.
Mhm.
And so the middle child would say things like, oh, if I would say, hey, you want to go with me this store? No, you have Maya. You don't need me.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, whatever. Maya, you want to go with me?
Right.
I wouldn't play into it because I knew what she was doing.
Mhm.
And so what I would try to do was make sure we would go on dates, separate dates, so that I would have
individual
time. Yeah, to give them that time because it's so difficult having these different personalities. And even my oldest daughter and my son were really close because she was like the mom.
Yeah.
She was 6 when he was born and he was this beautiful little baby and so sweet. And so that is challenging, having the different personalities. Now my kids are much older. My oldest is 21. She's a senior in college. She's my best girlfriend now, but she was crazy too. She
That's
went
where
through.
Dawn escapes.
Yeah, I'm going to see her. Yes.
She goes and barges in her apartment.
I'm going to visit her. She has her own place this year.
Nice.
And we go and do fancy stuff. We go and have massages at the Ritz.
it.
We go to brunch. Now she gets to have mimosas with me.
I love it.
So, but my middle daughter, it's amazing how God works. And I think you said that. My daughter's taking a gap year. We had talked about this on Christina's show, whether or not she was going to do it. Because I was like, you must think you're Malia Obama. Like, what are we doing here?
Yep.
So we gave in. She took her gap year and she's wanting to try out some different things. So she signed up with an agency to be a one-on-one for children on the spectrum. Out of all the schools in the Valley, they placed her at my school.
No.
Yeah.
Out of all the
At
schools
18 years old,
in
found a great
the Valley,
gig.
she is at my school.
Wow.
So now she is my coworker.
Isn't that right? That is how God works.
Yeah,
Exactly.
she's my colleague.
I love it.
Yeah, the kid that I could not wait to get out of my house with her and her cat. Now we are colleagues.
I love it.
And it's so wonderful to have this opportunity to have a different relationship with her, and at first we were going to carpool and it was like back to being driving her to school and waiting in the car for her to come out. And I was like, we don't have to do this.
No.
You can take your car. I'll take my car. I don't have to be stressed out if you're going to be late to work.
That's your gig.
We're completely different. I don't even tell people. I've only told a few people that she's my daughter. And so it's wonderful to have this opportunity to see each other in a different light.
To let her find her way.
Yeah,
on her terms.
it's really sweet. It's really sweet.
It's amazing. I don't have a middle, but what you're describing is my older and younger daughters. Almost exactly.
Yeah.
But when my older daughter went to college, Bert was still touring a lot. So my younger daughter and I, who had spent our lives two dogs barking in a mirror, Bert called us roommates. So we really bonded over that 2 years that it was just the two of us at home. And she would never have allowed that when the older daughter was home. Similar to you, what you just described. Oh, no, you have Georgia.
Yes.
She would never said anything like that to me. But her energy very much was like, that kids, as much as you make everything even, I love my kids evenly.
Yes.
There is an interesting connection with one or the other that you're not even doing on purpose.
Right.
It's not like I'm purposefully choosing one child over the other.
Absolutely.
Georgia and I can say, hey, Georgia, how about you take those flowers down the hall? And she'd go, okay. And I'd go, hey, Isla, how about you take these flowers down the hall? And she'd go, why?
Yeah.
Why? Why am I doing that?
Right.
And I'm like, I just asked the same thing of two people and I got two completely different reactions.
Right. It's very
That's
true.
the way those parenting those two kids. So then when Georgia left and there was no why, I would stop saying why. She'd start go, okay. Because she would just wait for Georgia to do it. She'd go, why ask me? Georgia do it. Because just ask Georgia because she'll do it without a fight.
You're right. My kids will wait for me to go down the line because if someone's in the room, I'm like, oh, can you get this trash? And they're like, oh, I was actually cleaning this dish. And then the next kid comes, can you go take that trash? They know that I'm just going to ask the next person until it gets done. They just wait it out.
That's a long line.
Yeah.
That's a long line.
One of them will eventually do it.
Somebody's going to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, I was really worried about my second kid going to college because of the why do you want me to move the flowers? Why? Why? And I was like, well, because this, A, I asked you to. B, we live together as roommates now and roommates help each other.
Right.
You know, I had all these reasons. She still wouldn't do it. So I was like, she's going to get to college and her roommate is going to skin her alive.
Yeah.
She's going to kill her. She's doing fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
She just like, it's
Figure
like
it
she
out.
was sneaky listening
Yeah.
the whole time. She just didn't want me to know that she was listening.
That's good.
And now she's behaving where she'll call me and say things like the other day she called and goes, I'm the only person that does dishes in this our dorm room. She has a little kitchenette. Everybody else just leaves them in the sink and just, I don't know if they expect me to do dishes. And I'm going, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It's like, who am I talking to?
Hold on. Have you been abducted? Like, has an alien entered your body?
They're always listening.
What is
watching.
happening?
Yeah.
This was
Yes.
my, you just like vomited back everything I've been saying to you for the past, I don't know, 18
That's
years.
good.
And I couldn't say anything because if I said, well, that's what I've been saying,
Right.
she would never talk
Then
to
she
me.
wouldn't tell you anymore.
She wouldn't tell me anymore. So
Yeah.
I was just hung up the phone and called Bert and was like, you will not believe the conversation I just had with Isla. And he was like, you must have been like internally combusting out of
That's so
anger and
funny.
pride at the same time.
Oh, it's such a good
Your
feeling.
parenting always kicks in when you're away or when the kids are away at other people's houses.
You're right.
Your parenting always kicks in
Yes.
for them, and they're always going to do what you tell them to do,
Right.
prayerfully. But that's usually it.
they
I was like, does
remember.
Dean know that?
No,
You're right.
He does surprisingly. My son's name is Dean, but usually like when he goes away and before he gets out of the car, Dean, please be your best self.
Yeah.
Do everything that you're supposed to do. And when I talk to whomever he's with, parents, family, whoever, they're, he's fabulous. He's a gentleman. He's always listening. So all of the things that I'm teaching him, even though he doesn't listen at home, when he goes away, he's doing exactly what he needs to do.
And
That's
the most
so
important.
And that's the
Yeah,
most
it is,
important.
yeah. It is
Yeah.
the most important. They're always act up where they feel the safest.
Of
don't
Right.
they?
course.
Where they're
Yeah.
comfortable.
So let me ask you, because I know your empty nest is going to look different than your empty nest.
Yeah.
Yeah? How do you feel about that? Are you dating? I mean, that's too
We're trying
personal.
to find her a man.
We are trying to
You're
find her.
absolutely
She's
beautiful.
gorgeous,
Thank
right?
you.
And you're such a soft soul from what I mean, the few minutes I've spent with you, you're a catch.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the question every episode.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Amen.
Yes.
That's the saying. I don't know. I'm preparing myself low key to kind of like just be alone, not necessarily, not alone by myself. Because alone is kind of like sounds negative.
Yeah.
So not alone by myself and just being able to go out, enjoy different things, travel, enjoy my friends, my girlfriends. Hopefully, though, in the horizon somewhere, there's a man out there for me.
Yeah.
Someone, a nice gentleman, But am I dating? It's been kind of dry.
Has it?
It's
Why do you think
tough.
that is? It's just tough.
It's tough. I just think, in my age range, I think a lot of men are married already or already hitched, already, have a long time partner. And then there's just a lot of not so nice guys out there and men. And so it's just kind of been difficult for me. And then also, dealing with my son, I'm just always on the go because he's first.
Yeah.
And I'm going to practices, cooking and, doing a whole lot of stuff, not necessarily for me. And, my friends always say, no one's going to come to your house and knock on your door and be like, hey, want to go dating or want to go out, want to go to the movies? And that's not necessarily like what I'm hoping will happen. I mean, I know that's not reality, but my time is more spent with like doing stuff for my son and making sure that he's the best person that he
Right.
can be and doing all the stuff that he has to do. And, when I'm out, I'm smiling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look great. So, I'm open. I'm available.
Listeners.
yeah.
Listeners.
But we've talked a lot about how as you get older, the pool does get smaller.
Yeah.
It's not where you're 20
Yeah.
and you're at college and there's men everywhere. It's just a fact that the pool
It is a
is
fact.
smaller.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for quality, you got to wait.
Yeah.
I think it does the opposite also, though, because as you get even older, spouses start, unfortunately, passing away.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know I watched my dad's generation. Not that you want to wait this long.
I was I don't want to wait that long.
But no, when my dad was in his late 50s, early 60s, that started happening. Not that you want to wait that long.
Right,
But I think, that window kind of opens up again when you get that age. And when kids get out of the house, people divorce. And I think, it starts shifting as you get a little bit older.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my hopeful glass half full.
Well, my father passed away 20 years now, and my mother has not dated at all since my father passed away.
No.
I don't think she has a
Really?
desire. No,
Really?
no, I don't think she ever has a desire. Yeah, my grandmother as well. My grandfather. Oh my gosh, my grandmother was in her 30s, early 30s when my grandfather passed away. My grandmother passed away when she was 80 something. Never dated another man.
Or maybe they
Yeah.
just kept it from you. You think?
Well, my mother hasn't dated anyone. Believe
Really?
that. Has
They
not.
just kept it.
Has not. And I mean,
Interesting.
someone tried to hit on her one time and she almost ran out of the store. I was like, Mom, yeah, it's okay for someone to be nice to you, say, nice things, but no, I don't think she wants to. And my grandmother definitely never did. She had 10, 11 kids and she never, she
Ooh,
didn't have
she was
time.
tired.
She didn't have
I
time.
wouldn't want to
Wow.
date him. I'm
have
like,
time.
nobody touch me for the
That's it.
rest of my life.
And that's what she used to say to us. She said, I would tell my husband, don't touch me anymore. I don't want to be bothered. But yeah, seriously, she never dated anyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Plenty of people are single their whole lives
Yeah.
and are good. Plenty of people I know don't have kids and are super
Yeah.
happy.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
to each his own. And
Yeah.
sometimes your path is, like you brought up, the Lord a lot. I believe that the Lord has a plan.
Absolutely.
And if you just walk that plan, you're supposed to be, you're doing the right thing all the time. So you're taking good care of your son, sounds like. And this
Yeah.
time is gone.
Goes by
He'll be
so fast.
gone.
Yeah.
So how much longer till you're empty nester?
My baby is 15.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, we have 3 more years.
Yeah.
We have sophomores.
And you've got 4 more years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a time.
If they leave.
Is she 18?
Yeah, she's 18. So she's taking her gap year, but yesterday she just asked if she could have my PayPal to pay for college applications.
Ooh.
And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I said, and if you don't go, you owe me back.
There you go.
I want the money back. She was like, why wouldn't I go? And my husband and I, we looked at each other like, because you're still here. You could have been gone.
But she took a gap year. Sounds like she did exactly what she said.
And she needed that time
Yeah,
to work.
totally.
Because we're not making it uncomfortable, but we're giving her the experience. She had to pay for, we told her you have to pay for your car note, you have to pay insurance, you have to pay for your damn cats, food and litter. And she was like, that's just dumb. I said, no, that's adulting.
That's real life.
Yeah, totally.
That's adulting. And so she's getting that experience. But she also said, because this summer she worked at a private school camp, day camp. And she was, working with spoiled little rich kids, So she said, Mom, I had to turn into you. And I said, really? What did that look like?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
I said, what did that look like? And she said, I told this little boy, if I call your name one more time. She said, I had to use your teacher voice. I said, really? And what did he say? So again, they're listening.
Uh-huh.
And she would come to work with me and she would see how I dealt with the kids. She'd say, or I just give them that mama look. Like I wouldn't even have to say. And so she's saying, I see now why you had to do certain things.
Yeah.
Because she said, I see kids who weren't disciplined. I see kids who didn't have any structure in the home. So just getting to this place where they're recognizing the importance of parenting and setting boundaries and discipline, that it's important that we love them, but otherwise, we're going to just have some, heathens in the street.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's so important.
It's sweet. It's sweet to see.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That she took a gap year and she, in that gap year, used it wisely, sounds like.
She
used it very wisely. That's the purpose of it. Not everybody's meant to graduate high school and go straight to college.
Right.
They're not, especially kids that grew up in the pandemic.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 years of arrested development.
Right.
And that was
You know?
her.
True.
That was her.
It's 2 years of arrested development. So she
Yes.
took 1 year and
Back.
developed.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Right? That's what she did. Another kid is doing that. And I went, absolutely.
That's
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
You deserve that year back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get it back. And then walk forward
Yeah.
strong, knowing what you want to do, at least knowing the direction you want to go in. Not everybody is meant to go to college either. I mean, we all have this got to go to college.
Yeah.
Why can't you go to trade school?
Right.
Why can't you be an interior designer? You get a certificate for that, 2-year degree for that.
So
true. So much you can do this doesn't
I know,
require.
LeeAnn, can you be my mom?
I just think
Take that gap year. I love that. We didn't put that on a shirt.
Just ran off a bunch of
You took
ideas.
get that year back.
Took
You
it
get
back.
that beer, baby.
It's
Take
so
it back.
important.
You should take it
Her
back.
brother is not happy. He's like, she's not leaving. He was ready to be the only child. That's what he was counting down because, my oldest got her turn to be by herself.
Yep.
And then, so he was waiting to be the only child. So he's very disappointed. He's always whispering like, when's she leaving?
How much longer?
What's going on? And I said, who knows what's going to happen with him? But what he doesn't know is that when this one leaves, the other one's already planning to come back.
Right.
She already got.
Because she'll be graduating college.
Yeah, she's
Can't get
graduating.
rid of the
He's not going to have the opportunity. But at least the one that he really enjoys will be back.
We'll be back. They're
Because she
close,
already
yeah.
got a job offer. She had an internship over the summer. They made her an offer. And so she's thinking of coming home, staying with home for 2 years, and then being able to buy her own place is what she's hoping. So I said, we'd love to have you back.
And that's a plan.
Yeah.
That's not somebody
as
showing
long
up.
as you have a plan.
Exactly right. You got to have a plan.
Yeah.
As long as you have a plan.
You got a plan?
Yeah.
I get
You can't
behind
just
that
be
plan.
laying up being a bum.
Yes, exactly. That's what we've always
You can't have
said
a
too.
concept. You can't have a concept of a plan.
A concept of a plan. I have a
You gotta have a
vision
plan.
board.
Right.
However, right?
No.
There's like
funny.
owning an airplane on the
No.
vision board.
Right.
Baby step.
No. Yes.
So I'm an empty nester just for a month.
Ooh.
It's awesome. I love my
Yay.
kids, but I'm having a blast.
That's great.
Any hesitation? Any like, ooh, this part's gonna be hard or anything like that?
That would be me.
That would be you?
Really?
Yes, I'm going to have to prepare because back to your original question, which was what's difficult about being a parent, it was juggling and figuring out the right moves to make, when to work, when not to work. I really wanted to raise my kids myself. I have an education background. I know what it looks like to parent your children. So when that work is done, then it's back to me. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to start this podcast, finding things that you like, that you're interested in, keeping yourself going, not looking crazy, being fit, being fashionable, all those things. So it's going to take some work. That'll probably be my first time in therapy. What's next? But I've been doing the work, as they've been in high school with trying new hobbies, seeing different dreams come to fruition, traveling, all those things.
I think that is the good thing about our generation is that we, or at least I am this way. I think a lot of my friends are this way. We see what's coming. We're planners.
Yes.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I see.
Yeah.
I got 2 years to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I better start figuring it out now.
Yeah.
And then when it's here, I'm ready. I feel like a lot of my friends are in that mindset.
Yeah.
And it's a healthier mindset because then you can transition easily. It's almost like hitting the brakes on the car instead of just slamming into the car in front of you, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, it's coming.
Yeah.
What's that look like? You
But
know?
I also got tired of hearing those stories of I lost myself. Like, where did you go?
Yes, right?
I'm still myself. I just
Same.
need to activate those muscles that I've had while raising children. So I still have ideas. I still, I'm relatively young enough to try something new.
Totally.
So you just have to go for it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that Bert and I this past month, we've had so much fun. We are really enjoying ourselves. We are going to dinner a lot. We're going out with friends a lot. We've been to see so many concerts. But you can't really maintain that every single day. So we are still at the end of the day like staring at each other. Like, I love you. Guess we're watching TV again? I mean, like, we're going out to dinner like 2-3 nights a week and still we're looking at each other because there's so much activity. We have, even if the kid's not home, that activity's on your brain.
That's so true.
What time's she getting in from lacrosse? Does she need a ride to so-and-so's house? Has she been drinking or smoking weed and not supposed to? What's going on in her room? Is there like a snake living in there because this is so disastrous? But we don't have the management of people. We're not herding cats anymore.
Right.
So then there's a lot of like, okay, I guess we're going to get into a TV show. And part of that is really fun. And part of it is starting to make us both feel a little like life is over. That sounds dramatic, but in this transitional moment, I'm having those feelings. And I know they're temporary, but it's just because it's so brand new and the noise is so quiet now that even as prepared as we've been, let's see, March. So like 18 months ago, I started going, oh, hold on. We're about to be just the two of us. We're fine. Everything's fine. Our relationship's fine. I don't want it to just be fine.
Right.
I want it to be amazing.
Yeah.
So what do I do now to start building toward amazing so we're already at amazing when the kids leave?
That's good.
So he and I got on the same page with that and have been doing that and are at amazing with the two of us, with our sex life, with our communication, with our friendship, with our playing games and board games and traveling. But we are still faced with that. It's awfully quiet in here.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, the kids went to homecoming on Friday, all of them together because they're all in high school. We're like, oh, we're going to go out and have sushi and have great sex. What are we going to do? So we get them all out the door. And I'm in like my granny nightgown. So he's like, oh, we're going to go have sushi. I was like, okay.
You guys didn't go to dinner? That was a plan.
I know, but he did go pick up the sushi.
Okay.
And then we did have great sex.
Oh, there you go.
Gross.
That's not gross.
I don't want to hear it from my brother.
She's the it's your brother. I forgot that's your brother.
So,
okay, you're allowed the gross.
Right. So we're starting to use the quiet to come back to each other, which is very nice.
It's so fun. We're having so much fun.
Yeah. You have to close the door, nothing.
Nothing. I know. I have another friend who's 1 or 2 years ahead of me in empty nester. And when I had her on my podcast, when she first got into empty nest, she was like, oh, get ready for naked man. Because I have a naked man in my house 24/7. That man will answer the door naked. And I'm like, what? She's like, he just never, and I would never have thought he would be that guy. I've known him for 25 years. She was like, naked. Constantly. He's just
So
naked.
funny.
He's like, I'm free because they had a daughter.
Right.
So he was never naked. And so I think the rubber band snapped back and he's like naked. So Bert is kind of that way a little bit too. But I've been like, well, I left that in the laundry room. I'm just going to go get it.
Yeah.
Even though I had girls, I just didn't really walk around the house naked.
Yeah.
I just did. It's just not appropriate with teenage anything.
Right.
So that's been really fun. So if someone were going to find your podcast and listen to your favorite or your best or your most proud of episode, what would it be about? And it doesn't have to be the same episode.
One of my favorite episodes is the Horny Cat episode.
Horny Cat?
Yes.
Talk
where
to me about that.
Yeah.
What is that?
She had a cat that was in heat. She was babysitting. Was it the babysitting of the cat?
She had a whole cat in her house.
Yes, and she was babysitting the cat, and the cat was in heat and just scraping up around everybody and making the cat sounds all over the place. And that was my favorite.
The
Yeah,
horny
but
cat.
then the rest of that episode, she was talking about her daughter.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a beautiful story of her overcoming some anxiety that she had been going through, in a beautiful letter that she had written to Dawn and her husband.
Yeah.
So it started off hilarious, or we're crying, laughing, and then we're crying at the end of the
at the
episode.
end.
Amazing.
Because she had a wonderful breakthrough with her daughter.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so funny that you guys say that is your favorite, because I was going to say that was my favorite too. Because of course the horny cat was hilarious.
Ridiculous.
It was so crazy because we have a male cat. My daughter has a male cat, and we were babysitting my friend's female cat who was in heat and wasn't fixed and was just horny. Our cat didn't know what to do with himself. He was like, "This chick is licking my booty. What is going on?" It was nuts. But then that same weekend, my daughter, she didn't run away. She just snuck out of the house. And so the title was Horny Cat Missing Teen. And we're like, where is this girl? But she sent my husband and I a text about how she's finally free to experience teenagehood. And that she had been living in fear for so long. And she's a beautiful writer. She's a beautiful writer. I think that's what she's going to school for. But it was just so touching. And she's always written letters. Usually they're mean letters about, "You're such an awful mom, and let me count the ways."
Oh my goodness.
So she's always expressed herself that way, and I've allowed her to, because I just wanted to give her space to get it out. But it was beautiful, and I feel like we touched a lot of people with that episode, because one thing I find, I'm in lots of mom groups, and I feel like we don't share. We don't share, and we're not vulnerable about the real hard stuff that's happening. And you end up feeling like you are alone, and that something is wrong with you, and something is wrong with your family. And there's a lot of shame that goes along with that. And so I was proud of myself for opening up and sharing with the listeners, but also thankful to my daughter, because she had already given me permission to talk about her on the show. I mean, our entire family, that was part of my reservation when Nakia had been asking for so long about being on the podcast, was that, well, I need to be respectful of my husband, and I need to, think about my kids. And so to have the freedom to be able to share those stories and hopefully help someone else, especially parents. I got so much feedback from people that have known me for years, and you would never know that we were going through that, because we present, we're picture perfect. But there's some difficult stuff that goes along with it. And I always say, I never trust a mom that says that everything is wonderful. She's lying. They're lying.
She's called me a liar many times.
Oh, yeah. Because, or either you're just not getting deep into
You're missing something.
You're missing
it's
something.
very surface.
You're missing something, because there's some heavy shit going on. And it's tough. And I've been fortunate enough not only to have really great therapists, but to have really great friends that I'm able to share with, and that also share with me what they're going through, which allows me to then feel comfortable sharing.
It's so
the hard
important to
stuff.
have good girlfriends to rely on. I absolutely loved that episode. But my absolute favorite would be my daddy.
Oh,
we have had men drop in here and there to give a male perspective, but just in the year that we've been doing this podcast, we've talked about our childhood. We've talked about, our parents' divorces, how that affected us. And my dad, every step of the way, has listened to this podcast. It's very, very religious, conservative. We've talked about crazy things, and I've always been so embarrassed, but he calls me right after, I love that story, or well, why didn't you tell me? Or, it's really brought us closer. So to have him on and share his experience as a listener and as a dad, that was just phenomenal.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He's super sweet.
And he brought out his old radio voice because he used to be a DJ.
He did?
Yes.
That's amazing.
So that was very fun.
Where was he a DJ?
In Louisville, Kentucky. He was a Edie the Judge as a teenager. Taking
Edie
over,
the Judge.
taking over the airways. He was very popular at the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so brought
He's
us
very
all
cool.
out to California and made his way. Now he's a TD at a popular show, so he's really great.
That's great.
Yeah,
Well, I love what you had to say. I think the beautiful part about podcasting is I think it gave real people a platform to talk about real things, right? What you're talking about, middle age, is a real thing. And let's hope everybody gets to experience middle age, because
Yeah.
if you live to be old,
Right.
yeah,
you have to go through it.
Right.
yeah.
And this transitional moment, it is best, I think, experienced in a shared way, right? And to be of service, right? I'm such a civic-minded, of service person. And sometimes the best way to be of service is to share of yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Because when you open yourself up, it just allows other people the opportunity to heal, to understand themselves better, to understand their neighbor better, to understand the opposite politician better, to understand fill in the blank, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's wonderful you guys started this podcast. I love that it's middle-age focused. Sounds like you talk about horny cats and other things, which makes it even that much more entertaining and amazing. What are some topics you haven't talked about yet that you want to? Do you guys talk about money? Because you
That's
should.
a good one. That's
Because
a good one. That's on our
middle-age,
list.
That
we should talk about
yeah.
money.
Yeah, we have a guest coming up to talk about financial planning and things like that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but that's a good one.
You know-
preparing a nest egg, that's important.
Yes.
Ooh.
And,
Yeah, is
and,
there
you know,
money for college?
And
Right.
talk about where you screwed up with money.
Yes.
So many people feel like they're off in a ditch with money, but they're actually not as
Yeah.
much as they think,
Or have bounced back.
or have
Yeah.
bounced back, or
Right.
digging yourself out seems insurmountable. But if you hear someone's story where they dug themselves out, or a financial planner who says, oh, if you do this one simple thing,
Right.
it changes everything. Like, I had actually our business manager came on years ago, probably 6 years ago now. And he was like, one of the easiest things you can do if you're going to get a credit card anyway is get a credit card with rewards points. And this is what that means.
Travel.
And so many listeners didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
And so that one simple conversation,
Yeah.
which I thought was obvious to everybody, never sign up for something without rewards. You know, you
Right.
even have
You get
a,
that at
you got a Ralph's
Yeah.
card. You get rewards for that.
Costco.
But some people don't know that. They
Very
haven't.
true.
They don't grow up in that family culture.
Or they don't push the button to get the cash back bonus points.
Easy.
Ignore those emails all day, every day.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or that's just not something their family talked about openly, was money.
Right.
And so I
That's good.
would request an episode of Middle Age about money.
Okay.
And
That's a good one.
do one about money.
I think I'm one of those wives that try to avoid the conversation with my husband about budgets, and I take care of all of the finances. My husband doesn't really know what's going on. His money is direct deposited into the account. And so there's some freedom in that, but also there's some ignorance in that on his part, because he doesn't know what things cost.
Mhm.
And he'll always say, oh, you're nickel and diamond at Target. I'm like, no, that's just what things cost.
Yeah.
But when it's time, when he'll say, oh, we need to create a budget, I am that wife that has those secret packages that,
Right?
that are being
And
delivered.
social media doesn't help with the daggone
Yes.
Target hauls,
Tell me.
Amazon
Yes.
hauls.
So I never want to
Guilty.
talk about it, but I don't. I've been on and off an at-home mom and working and employed for other people, but I never want to be one of those wives that don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on, and I trust my husband. I know that we're not going to end up in the poorhouse. I always think of like Bernie Madoff and like his wife who had no idea, and then she had to like sell her panties.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
So
She just let everything.
oh yeah, they came and took everything. And so I never want to be in a situation like that where I'm totally ignorant about what's going on. But I'm also from that era. Like my mom didn't talk to me about perimenopause, but she certainly talked to me about having my secret stash.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always and I talk to my kids about it too. Like, make sure you have your own money. Like, don't depend on daddy's great and wonderful, but always make sure you're able to have a career, that you can take care of yourself and that you don't have to depend on anyone. And if you want to be able to stay home with your kids for a while, make sure that's an option when you're thinking about the choices that you're making. But make sure you're able to provide for yourself is a conversation that I have with my daughters for sure. Yeah. And to be smart with their money.
Yeah.
So here's something, my listeners have heard me talk about this a million times. Here's something that Bert and I have always done, which I think is kind of cool. And I don't really know how we came up with it, but it's really cool. We have something called the Summit. So the two of us have a summit meeting. And we like lay our weapons down at the door. This is all like a business meeting about our marriage, our kids, our in-laws, our family, our money, our vacationing, our cars, our car payment, or all the stuff you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And a lot of the dream stuff that you need to make happen.
Okay.
And we just sit down and talk about all of it. Like I have an agenda. Like here's the agenda. He's not an agenda kind of guy. I'll make the agenda just like the CEO of a company and the president of a company having a business meeting.
Wow.
Because your relationship is a partnership.
Yeah.
So it should be treated like a partnership, just like a business. So we've been doing that for so long. I don't even remember when it started. But it's been one of the most amazing experiences because, you know, it's hard to talk about money when you're having trouble with money. It's hard to talk about sex when you're having trouble with sex.
Yeah.
It's easy to talk about, here he comes.
I just got blood work. Perfect.
All right.
Talk about.
At our age, how great is great blood work?
Yeah,
Am I right? I'm like,
that's a good dream.
I feel like I posted a viral Instagram clip. I'm like, I want to call people. My liver enzymes are healthy. I thought I'd share.
Good job.
I hope you guys are having a good time. I'm like, I was more shocked than you are.
Good job, babe. Love you.
That's great.
He looks like he just came back from a serious workout.
He did.
Okay.
He just finished working out. He has a trainer. He just worked out with his trainer, and then he had a telemedicine appointment where he did all his blood work.
He came to bring some summit.
And he is a mess with that blood work. He is a mess. He is a wreck. It is like all he can think about. He can't handle it till he gets good blood work.
Yeah. And that was perfect timing because you're talking about the summit.
Right.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure you talk about
We do.
health, you know, and
we
taking
do.
care of yourself.
Talk about everything.
I'm gonna do that
that's
summit.
very
How often
brave.
do you do it?
It's probably really, really once a year.
Okay.
Okay.
But if something big's going on or we're like in some big thing or we'll do it again. But it's
Okay.
usually like once a year.
Yeah,
and
he
it's
can
usually
handle
right
once a
around
year.
November, January,
End of the
somewhere
year,
in there.
Beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you
That's
kinda,
very brave.
you know, I guess it is brave. I never thought of it as being brave.
Yeah.
I thought of it as being very pragmatic.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about earlier, I think our generation goes, well, what's coming down the pipe? Let's get ahead of what's coming down the pipe. And
Yeah.
so I think for me, I was like, you push off those hard conversations.
Yeah.
Who wants to have them?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So if you create this space where we know we don't have to have the hard conversations as they come up
Right.
unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
You can have them in that one time. You have a nice dinner, have one glass of wine so you don't get drunk, start fighting about the summit. And then you can kind of, you just know that you're on the same page.
That's good.
Right? And I don't know why I don't have siblings, but I would imagine as your parents are aging, and you start becoming their caretakers,
Yeah, that's
something like
another
that
thing.
would be really good.
Yeah, that's
to
what
do
we've
with your
been
sibling.
talking to people about coming on and taking care of their parents and what that looks like.
Yeah.
So many people are struggling with dementia and
Mm-hmm.
really stepping in or being, what is it called, where you're still taking care of your children and it's a sandwich?
Oreo.
Yeah.
I
something
heard
like
someone
that.
say as an Oreo.
Yeah.
You're like an
Yeah.
Oreo. You're the middle.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're in that stage for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in that stage. And it's difficult.
It is hard.
It's very, very difficult.
It's stressful for everybody involved. Your kids,
Yeah.
your parents, and yourselves.
Yeah.
And
It's tricky because you wonder, I know my husband and I always say, how did these people raise us? Because, they're very childlike now. And I remember my mom, I called her one day and she said, I'm so tired. I said, why? And she said, my TV was on all night long. I said, okay, why didn't you turn it off? And she said, I couldn't find the remote. I think it fell behind my bed. I said, well, and she said, and it was just loud. And so, well, why didn't you get up and push the power button? She hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah.
She hadn't even thought that you can turn the TV off because she dropped the remote. So the TV was on all night long, just blaring. And she was up. And I was like, how did this woman raise me? But those are the things that are happening, and it's kind of scary. And so whenever I start doing something similar to my mom, he'll say, oh, okay, Nene, because my mom's name is Naomi, and she doesn't want the kids calling her grandma or anything. So we call her Nene. And whenever my husband is doing something similar to his dad, I'm like, okay, Frank, because you see it. You see it happening.
You do.
It's happening. The other day I had on a pair of glasses and I'm looking all over for my glasses. And then I find the second pair and I try to put them on.
Yes.
On top of the glasses that I was already wearing.
Yes.
And my husband's like, okay, Nene.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I'm getting old.
I know. I can't go from one room to the other and remember what I was doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. It makes you feel so not yourself, doesn't it? All these shifts in middle age. You go, who am I?
Yeah.
I remember feeling feelings that I just don't feel. Like being possessive over a friendship where I'm like,
yeah, where'd that come from?
I'm not like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not
Yeah.
that way at all. What's happening? It makes you really feel like, who am I?
It's strange. I checked the door today about 3 times because I couldn't remember if I locked it. I was like, I just walked away. What are you doing, Nakia?
Yes.
Or I threw my back out at Target trying on a pair of pants. It's like, for 2 days. And I remember the moment because there were some skinny, like, faux leather things. And I got it off my foot. And I was like, oh, wait, my back. I was like, 2 days on a heating pad.
2 days on a heating pad.
I got to get those weights back, lifting weights again. Take care of those bones.
You got to take care of those bones. You got to start lifting weights. That's for sure. I know my in-laws are all of a sudden are less strong. I don't know why. Yeah. It happened like that. Like they're doing good still, but like all of a sudden, boom, we're like, oh wow, they can't really like get up as easily, even out of a chair as they used to be able to. As this generation who plans ahead, start working out now.
Yeah.
Strength training. Yep. 3 days a week.
We were just talking about
that. We had a trainer on telling us what to do, what vitamins to take, how to get ready.
Y'all are killing it.
To move our bodies.
Yeah.
So
do you love your podcast? Do you love it?
I do. I enjoy it. I enjoy the guests that we have on. They're really great. We've learned a lot about a lot of people, some interesting things, and just getting to know these ladies more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to do.
Do you love it?
Yeah.
You do.
It's a family environment. My nephew comes over, which turns into Sunday dinner, which we hadn't been doing that in years, but now every other week he's there eating dinner with us. I was like, this is really good for him to be around us consistently because we don't live right next door to each other.
Right.
So it's a consistent routine that the kids look forward to. All my kids know how to set up the studio because we're in this, foundational stage where it's at our house.
Yeah.
My husband's editing. It's a family affair.
Love it.
So yeah, we're just waiting to get to the next step.
That's awesome. Do you love it?
I do. And I'm proud of myself because
There she goes. She's gonna say she's shy.
Because I'm shy.
You are?
It's untrue.
Dawn. I don't
Do you
believe
believe
you.
that?
No,
Yeah.
I do not believe you. I'm clutching my pearls now. I do not believe you, Dawn.
Because I'm shy. Because it
I would have think that she's the shy one.
Yeah, no, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. And you remember, like in the beginning, I would have to.
In the beginning, you came with the fire. The very first episode had us screaming and laughing about your pubes in the seat.
About your pubes in the sink?
She called it the seat. Where her
in the
pubes
seat.
were.
Yes.
Not in the front, but in the seat.
In the seat.
But the preparation.
Wait, how do you know you have gray pubes in the seat?
Because my husband told me.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that was coming.
He likes to explore. But but you would also notice that I would come and I would have to sit away and like take a moment.
It took her a minute for the lights and cameras,
prepare.
but as far as storytelling and being vulnerable, that was right off the bat. She's a natural. She's our little superstar.
It takes a lot. I think I'm an introvert. See, I am. I'm an introvert and it takes a while. Like I was supposed to go back to work. Like they don't know that I left work and I'm supposed to go back. I'm at the dentist right now.
Oh, are you? You got some serious
I'm at the dentist.
tooth pain happening.
I'm
Well, thank
having
you for
a temporary crown. I'm having the permanent put on right now.
Oh, gotcha.
And so
really blow up. So much
and so
trouble.
I'm not gonna be able to go back to work and have to like deal with people. I'm gonna need to take some time to recover
from
all of this.
Are you serious?
I am.
I would never have thought you hide it very well.
Yeah, and I do. Like ever since I was a kid, I would dread. I was like that kid that would dread answering a question. If I would always wait. Once the teacher was looking at me, giving me that mama look, like you better raise your hand. And then she finally said, if looks could kill, because I was probably giving her the death stare. Like,
right.
You better not call on me. And so no, it's real.
You need to
so
back that up with what you told the teacher.
Oh.
So another issue for our listeners, they know that Nakia has a difficult time
with what?
Pronouncing words.
You
particularly my name.
No, not that. I'm talking about when you went to the dermatologist.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
That teacher. So I had this teacher, he would always mispronounce my name.
Wait, I thought your name was Dawn.
My name is Dawn.
But I call her Dawn sometimes, like the guy Dawn.
Like
she
Dawn.
does all these weird things. She calls me Don, like D-O-N, or Dawn. She makes some
How
really
interesting.
Really
how do you supposed to say it?
Dawn.
Dawn.
Just
Did
like
I say it right?
Yes.
Dawn.
Sounded like
Yawn, fawn,
Dawn. Yeah, Dawn.
Dawn. It's real simple.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom would tell me that if someone mispronounced my name, to tell them the proper way to say it, and then after that, you can just ignore them. Because clearly they're not talking to you.
Right.
So I was very I was this name snob. And there was this teacher who mispronounced my name. His name was Mr. Henry. And I had eczema as a kid. I'm actually having a breakout right here. You see that? Mm-hmm. And so so I went to the dermatologist like for the first time in 5th grade. And this guy had awful skin. Awful. So I picked up a business card, and when I got to school late, I said, Mr. Henry, I raised my hand. I said, I have something for you. I'm late because the dermatologist, and I said, I think he can help you out with your situation.
Oh my gosh.
To the teacher.
I did.
The kids that didn't want to be called on.
That's not shy.
It was so awful. But I got in so much trouble. He called my house. This was, of course, landline days. And the way that I sound now, I sounded that way at 10 as well. Mm-hmm. And so I acted like I was my mom because she had a very high-pitched voice. And so he called. I knew he was calling because I'm going to call your mom. I said, okay. He called my mom, and I pretended as though I was my mom. And he's telling me everything that I did. And I said, no, she didn't. Oh, my goodness.
Naughty time.
Oh, my gosh. No way. Next thing you know, squeaky voice mom,
oh, no.
in the background. Who's on the phone? So I hung up on Mr. Henry.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I unplugged the phone.
Yes.
So hours went by. The phone hadn't rang. My mom is like, how come mom and dad's like, no, nobody's calling? I said, oh, let me check. I said, oh, my goodness, the phone was unplugged. I plugged it in. Do you know Mr. Henry's ass called my house at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, my gosh.
And my mom sends my dad in there. He's like, your mama sent me in here. You know I'm going to have to spank you. I said, like a for real spanking, or are we going to like fake, like you hit the bed? And he's like, no, you really did it this time. You're going to get a for real spanking. So I did, but he did mispronounce my name quite often. And I think I was getting him back, but also helping him out as well.
Right.
With the craters on his face.
Wow.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'm starting to have a hot flash.
You are having a hot
the
flash.
light.
I saw that.
It's the light.
I saw
right?
that, and she tries to say she's not. I'm always having hot flashes. I will soak
Do
a
you see me
bed.
wet?
I
Not
see
really.
it.
Oh,
It
okay.
started on your
I'm
upper
glistening.
lip, and now,
You're glistening.
See,
Oh, yeah.
Miss, I'm
I
too
see
young for that. I'm not ready
Can
yet.
you help?
Well, if you are skipping work, we should get you back to work anyway. But I've enjoyed this conversation so much.
Thank you so much, LeeAnn.
Thank you for
are
coming.
So great.
Thank you.
Well, y'all are great. I
We
can't wait to
appreciate
listen to your
having you.
podcast. I hadn't had time to listen to it before you came.
Yes, please do.
But I did read up on you. So I
Okay.
knew who you were and
yeah,
what you've been doing. I
Okay.
love what you're doing. Keep
thank you.
doing
Thank
it.
you.
We will. We
Thank
drop
you.
every Tuesday, available everywhere and on YouTube. And we'll keep bringing the fire. And we'll have someone talk about money very soon.
Right.
Talk about money.
Yes.
Talk about money. Talk about taking care of your,
Yes.
well, you probably already have talked about taking care of your parents.
Ooh,
Yeah.
we need to talk about it more.
Yeah, talk about sex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
All that
Thank you
good
so
stuff.
much for having
Yes,
us.
yes.
Thank you guys. I
you.
appreciate
That's
it. Come back
lovely.
again, would you?
Yes.
Yeah, I would love
We
that.
will.
I would love that.
Yeah.